The explosions of things like cloud computing, mobile, DevOps, and work from home has led to the decentralization of IT and more business operations being conducted outside of the corporate network. This is one of the reasons Zero Trust is being rapidly adopted. 92% of companies have a Zero Trust strategy, yet only 45% have started. A recent IDSA report shows 97% of IT security experts state identity is a core component of Zero Trust strategies. Let me introduce Raj and Stefan from Deloitte, who are going to go through this with much more detail. Thank you so much for being here. Let me start with you, Raj. What role does identity play in Zero Trust?
It's a pretty prime question, and a lot of our clients are asking. So identity, if you look at the Zero Trust framework, it consists of 5 different cybersecurity domains, starting with identity, data, application, infrastructure, and devices. Automation and orchestration and telemetric and analytics forms the horizontals which cut across all the 4 or 5 different cyber domains. Now, identity is the new perimeter. What it means is that the foundational element of why people want to march towards Zero Trust is because they wanted to move away from layer 3 security to a more dynamic access control way of granting access based on evaluating the context of the connections through a risk-based policies.
So Raj, following up a little bit more on that, how does an IAM implementation differ in a Zero Trust?
So the fundamental or the foundational aspect of Zero Trust is to move away from a static construct to more dynamic. What it means is providing least privilege based on risk-based policies just in time when a user or a subject need access to the organizational resources is the key design principle. If you look at that key design principle, I would say there are 3 important considerations you should be looking at when you are embarking on an IAM journey, or for that matter, enhancing your existing IAM platforms. Number 1 is how do you expand your subject context? Currently, all IAM implementation focuses on user attributes, user roles, or user entitlements. That context needs to be expanded to include device attributes, such as whether the device through which the user is logging in is managed or unmanaged, combined with environmental context such as time of the day, geolocation, etc. The second element which people have to focus on is centralized access decisions. Many of the IAM implementations are currently doing centralized access decisions, but the one thing which they are missing is how are they integrated with the identity ecosystems within their organizations. There needs to be a lot of integrations from getting the signals from SOC or from threat intelligence that helps you to make decisions runtime and in centrally. The third and the most important one is the identity hygiene, which is always overlooked as part of Zero Trust implementation. When I say identity hygiene, I'm talking about how an identity data will be of pristine quality that could be used in access control policies, so to avoid false positives or false negatives.
What are the key IAM considerations and best practices organizations should think about when planning a Zero Trust implementation?
I think there's a number of principles that you want to anchor around when you think about best practices. Really, going back to Raj's point, it's thinking about what are the key elements of a Zero Trust framework for identity. So when we say least privilege, right, I think that means you need to be thinking about how do I actually make sure my access in the organization is locked down. And one of the capabilities that we see companies need to have, really built and have robust, capabilities around is identity governance and administration. So being able to understand, what access do your users have, and why do they have that, and continuously having processes in place to make sure the access is, appropriate. It's pretty usual now that we're seeing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced analytics, really to kind of build out, how do I have data models to tell me what is the right access a person should have, and that type of technology is going to continue to evolve. I think that's kind of where we see the industry moving, and that's probably an area we want to see companies focusing on as they build out their identity governance and administration.
So as we've heard, a large number of companies haven't started this journey yet. So what are a few key successes to the journey to Zero Trust?
Zero Trust is a framework. You have to look at it from the perspective of how do you achieve that framework through the set of guiding principles which they have laid out. It's not a technology play or just a process play. It's a combination of people, process, and technologies, and how do you want to realign yourself to achieve the North Star. Always fail faster. And to his point, piloting these sort of initiatives within a small subset of business units is a very key component of achieving the success.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you both. Super informational. We appreciate you taking the time and look forward to building out much more process together.